Joining us now on this election eve is political science professor David McCuan from Sonoma State. And David, we want to first talk about the balance of power there in Congress. I want to show you now a look at how it currently stands in the Senate. Right now, there are 51 Republican seats, 47 Democrats, and 2 independents who both caucus with Democrats.
All right, and here is a party breakdown in the House of Representatives. 195 seats belong to Democrats, 240 belong to Republicans, and this includes all vacancies. All right, so David, I mean, the big question, obviously everyone is wondering tonight is, are we going to see Democrats take control in either the House or possibly the Senate?
All right, so if we look at what's shaping up for tomorrow, it looks like Democrats are not well positioned for the Senate. They're defending a number of seats in states that Donald Trump won in 2016. There are 10 Democratic senators in that case. So you have places like, for example, Montana or West Virginia, even though it looks like Joe Manchin will do fine in West Virginia. You move it over to the House, it's a completely different demographic. And really, House elections are much different in terms of what's going on. They're much more localized races. And the out party is always advantaged in midterm elections. Given the divisiveness of this particular president, Democrats are relying on women, younger voters, Latinos and Latinas to draw out or bring up their numbers. We see that in the early vote, and it looks like Democrats will be able to be successful by winning those 23 seats that they need to take over the House tomorrow night.
Okay, so David, let's say there is a shift. How do you think that will change the president's agenda?
It changes everything about what's going on. Democrats will engage in a number of investigations. They will push back on this presidency. The president will try to reboot his presidency. He'll have a mass exodus of folks. He'll have to bring people in. In addition to that, the government runs out of money on December 7th. That will be an important moment because Republicans will want to continue to do some type of funding, but the border wall, security, immigration, the caravan, all of that rhetoric will be spinning towards December 7th. And then a new Congress comes in into January. We're already really in the 2020 election cycle where Democrats have run a message that's really anti or counter Trump, especially in California. The question is, what message do Democrats have moving forward, especially if they win the House? It can't be against Trump. It has to be also for something because presidential elections and midterm elections are really very different animals.
All right, there's been, you know, obviously all this talk about some sort of a blue wave, whether it's a small wave or a large wave, we're not sure. But really the polls are suggesting the Democrats have a really good shot of taking control of the House, especially. But given what played out in 2016, how much stock should we really be putting in these polls?
Right. So polls that look at likely voters are much more reliable. And so we have to pay attention to that component. And in order for Democrats to win the House, they're going to have to win in California. So early tomorrow night, we'll pay attention to what's happening in California, but we're also going to pay attention to what's happening in Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania had redrawn districts in that state. And what happens in Pennsylvania 6, 7, and 8. Pennsylvania 6, 7, and 8 will give us an indication of how well Democrats are going to do. If 6, 7, and 8 in Pennsylvania go Democratic, Democrats have the opportunity to build a wave moving forward from there that looks like 35 to 40 seats plus. If they don't do well in 6, 7, and 8, Democrats will have a good night, but it might not be a spectacular night, and that obviously affects the dynamics in Washington, D.C. in December and January moving forward.
Yeah, as we've been saying, a lot at stake tomorrow night. We'll be here to cover it all. Thanks so much, David. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much for having me.
And be sure to join us.